Red Ron OC asks, how often do you trip over stuff in your room? What's going on, guys? Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you episode 4 of the SR4U Q A series. Your questions, my answers to them, all pulled from my Instagram, SR4U_Josh. It'll be the first link down below in the description. So if you'd like to participate in the next episode of SR4U Q A, go follow me on Instagram. Left Backs Are People Too asks, I just want a full unedited rant on people who claim their $90 Nike Takedown shoes are the top end boots. That is what you call an unwinnable argument. Oscar 8K asked, why do you think Nike chose to stop marketing the Magista and not a different cleat? The answer to this question might seem quite obvious, but a lot of people seem to get confused when it comes to newer and older models within the same brand. These boots are not in constant production. When the latest colorway of X boot comes out, the production has ended probably 3 months to 6 months beforehand, and they're already working on stuff that's going to be coming out in another 3 to 6 months. They're not always making the same boots in the same colorways. In the case of the Magista, it was replaced by the Phantom Vision. They essentially just renamed the line. It could have easily been called the Magista Obra 3, but because the design ended up so different, I think for the sake of marketing, it perhaps made sense to Nike to change up the name a little bit, which I tend to agree with them. You generate more hype just by changing the name. We saw Adidas do this by going from Ace to Predator. The Ace 17 Plus and the Predator 18 Plus, it's kind of just the logical evolution, but they changed the name to Predator for the sake of the return of the Predator hype that a lot of people bought into. So the name is not quite as important, but in the case as to why Nike stopped marketing the Magista, it's because they're no longer making them, so they have no reason to really market them anymore. AJ019 asks, when do you think laceless soccer cleats will be as good as cleats with laces in terms of lockdown? This question really sums up my main issue with laceless boots in the first place, and that's that it kind of implies that laces as a technology is obsolete, and that's not actually the case at all. Laces are very lightweight, very low profile, add pretty much no bulk to the boots whatsoever, but are extremely effective in regards to allowing you to tighten and adjust and lock down your foot inside of a pair of football boots, or really any form of footwear for that matter. So when will laceless technology catch up to laces? I'm not entirely sure that it will ever be able to do that. At least there is nothing out there as of right now that I have seen or tried that comes close to the amount of adjustability and customization that you can get from a simple lacing system. So it's possible that it will happen at some point in time. I just don't think it's going to be anytime in the near future. 321 BlastOff asks, if you could merge 2 or more boots together, which ones would they be and why? One boot that I always thought was really cool that unfortunately didn't really fit me that well, I didn't like them as much as I hoped to, was the Nike Tiempo Legend 4 Elite. The combination of a kangaroo leather upper with the fly wire cables and then the carbon fiber sole plate, basically merging the at the time Superfly, which would have been the Superfly 2 or 3, and then the Nike Tiempo Legend 4 together in one boot, I always thought was a really cool concept. Again, it just didn't work out that well for me personally based on how they fit. However, if we're talking about merging 2 modern boots, I really like that concept, and I'd love to see a Nike Tiempo Legend 7 Elite because I really feel like that's the best Tiempo upper that Nike has ever made, and some form of a mercurial sole plate and stud pattern. The anatomic sole plate with that really aggressive FG stud pattern, combine that with the soft leather upper and really surprisingly responsive feel of that current Tiempo Legend 7 Elite upper. I think those 2 elements combined would make for something pretty interesting. Max Capriotti asks, I'm a striker but love leather boots. What would you recommend for a speed leather boot? If you want something that I would consider to be a true leather boot type experience, meaning that the majority of the upper is leather, something like a Nike Tiempo Legend 7 Elite, which would probably be my first pick, or even the Adidas Copa 18.1, those would be 2 really solid options. Where if you're more concerned about having a truer speed boot feel, a thinner upper but still with leather on the upper, something like the Mizuno Morelia Neo 2, or even the Puma 1-1 with the kangaroo leather upper variation, those are 2 solid options to consider as well. It just depends on specifically what you're looking for. Easy AJ Ayi, that's my best attempt at that, Do you ever choose takedown models over high-end, and in what scenario? In general, if my budget allows me to buy a top-end model, I'm probably gonna buy a top-end model, but that's not to say that there aren't takedowns out there that perform to the same standards, that offer the same quality standards as what you could get from top-end boots. Two boots in particular that come to mind that I've talked about many times before, the Mercurial Vapor 12 Pro, and I guess you can include the Superfly 6 Pro in that as well, and then the Nike Tiempo Legend 7 Pro. Those are two takedown models that I would say are pretty much every bit as good as the top end ones, but obviously cost significantly less. There are differences in regards to how they feel and perform, more so in the case of the Mercurials rather than the Tiempos. But again, if my budget allowed me to buy a top end boot, I would buy a top end boot pretty much every single time. The Real Jonas asks, what are your thoughts on Concave football boots? Now, Concave as a brand is kind of interesting. I have reviewed some of their boots in the past, but definitely none of their recent stuff. And the main reason behind that is not because I'm avoiding Concave, it's because they seem to be avoiding me. They're one of those brands that seems to send their boots for review to just about anybody that has any kind of a platform on social media, be it Instagram, be it Twitter, be it Facebook, be it YouTube, it doesn't really matter. If you have a couple thousand followers of some sort, if you contact Concave, it's very likely based on what I've seen that they will send you something for free. And because a lot of these people with fairly small platforms that never get anything for free, they get these free boots from Concave, and just because they were free and they're super excited, they give this overwhelmingly positive review, even though the product might not necessarily warrant that super positive review. Now, the reviews I have made on Concave products in the past on this channel have not been overwhelmingly positive. I'll tell you right now that the little plastic concave wedge element that's kind of their signature, I think it's gimmicky, I think it's unnecessary. It really makes no difference in regards to striking the ball, in regards to accuracy or power. And honestly, it's just one of those elements that I wish was not there. Nothing I've tried from Concave has really been anything better than some mid-tier takedown models. There's really nothing that I've tried that's been that great. So I'm not opposed to reviewing their latest boots, but Concave doesn't seem to want to send them to me. If they do one day, hey, I'll make a review. Until then, don't really know what to tell you. Let's just say that brutal honesty isn't necessarily for everyone. Callum Bull asks, where can I get some high quality replacement laces? The Luke 19 asks, Joshiban, like that name. A few of my buddies have larger feet, around 13 to 15 US. Not much luck finding top level boots. Any recommendations for larger feet? Some of you guys might know, some might not. I used to work at a soccer store, and from time to time, somebody would come in with size 14 or size 15 US feet. It wasn't very common, but it would happen from time to time. And typically the store would only stock up to a size 13 US, and very few people would come in with legitimate size 13 feet. If you work in a soccer store, what you learn is that a lot of people overestimate how big their feet are, or at least are wearing their boots too big. Either way, there were some people with legitimately big feet that would come in, and we didn't stock those sizes because it was very, very rare for that to happen. However, pretty much every brand in certain models, they do make boots in a 13, a 14, and a 15. Typically not a 14 and a half, typically not a 13 and a half, but 14 and 15 they do make in certain models. So what would happen is we'd basically figure out whether or not they needed a 14 or a 15, and we'd have to actually order them in directly from Nike, Adidas, Puma, whatever brand it was going to be. So if you do have feet that big, it's very unlikely that you're gonna find any online store that's gonna have 14 and 15 in stock. So what I would recommend doing is contacting the store directly, letting them know what you need. They'll let you know what options you have at those particular sizes, and most likely they'll have to special order it for you. You're probably not going to get a great deal doing this because it will end up being full retail on a special order, but that is the best way to go about getting those bigger sizes that most stores are not going to stock. Lepyun asks, is it necessary to use a shoe tree to maintain the shape of your boots? Shoe trees, for those that don't know, is basically like a foot-shaped insert, typically made out of wood or plastic, to fill in the space of the boot. So when you're not wearing them, it's still being filled in with the shape of a foot as if you were wearing them. It's kind of more of an old school thing. And for something like a Copa Mundial, where the leather is super soft and kind of very old school as far as the construction is concerned, what you'll find is once they are well worn, they can kind of collapse on themselves. And in order to avoid that, you put a shoe tree in so it kind of maintains its shape a little bit better. In the case of modern football boots, even the leather ones, I just don't think that it's necessary. You can totally go and do it if you really want to, but it's not something that you need to do to help maintain the boots. Ali Al-Khatib 11 asks, how to clean boots effectively without putting them in a washing machine. Just to be clear, and I have talked about this on the channel before, I would not recommend putting your football boots in a washing machine. I don't care what the material is, I don't care what model it is, it's just not a very good idea. So when it comes to cleaning your boots, how should you go and do it? Well, I'll tell you what I do. I use some water, I use a rag, and I typically use a toothbrush if I really want to get them super clean. It takes some time, it takes a little bit of effort, but that is by far the best way to clean your boots. Cormac95 asks, best Predators of all time. While there are a lot of Predators that I really like, and perhaps I can make a top 5 Predators of all time video in the future if that's something you guys would like to see, I guess let me know down below in the comments. My answer for number 1 is pretty easy. It's the Predator Mania. It was actually my first top-end boot as a kid. I really like that pair. Everyone really likes the Predator Manias. It's the top Predator for so many people. But I will say, I guess as kind of a surprise favorite as well, my number 2 pick, just off the top of my head, this could change if I do make a top 5 video, it's probably the Predator Pulse. I really, really like those. Justice Garcia asks, what's your preferred position on the pitch? Oh, power went off. What the heck was that? Typically, I would play as a striker. That's kind of my go-to position. But as I've gotten older, mainly in pickup, I haven't really done this in too many real matches, but with a really solid group, I like playing as a left back or a right back. I don't know why, but it's something that I really seem to enjoy. And that concludes yet another episode of the SR4U Q A series. If you enjoyed the video and want to see this series continue on the channel, don't forget to support it with a like. And if you are new here watching for the first time and you don't want to miss out on the next episode or new videos every single day, because I actually do that here, don't forget to hit the subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified whenever the next new video goes live. Again, if you guys want to ask questions for the next SR4U Q A episode, my Instagram is SR4U_Josh. It'll be linked down below in the description. That is where I pull the questions for this series. If you have any other questions that you'd like me to answer in this video, leave them down below in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer as many of them as I possibly can. If you aren't following me on other forms of social media aside from Instagram and YouTube, all of that is also linked down below, so be sure to go ahead and check that out. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.